Welcome back, boys. This week was definitely a mixed bag in terms of results and just overall performance during training. Squat has been doing very well. I've definitely been able to push the RPEs and select some heavier weights, although I am still playing it pretty safe, just in case. Anyhow, the triples that we're doing now, I'm doing them in heels. Before going into this session, I thought it'd be very uncomfortable and I wouldn't really be used to it, but honestly, the heeled squats felt way better than the flats for some reason. I think it's because I'm usually squatting in heels on like my last day of training during the week where I'm already pretty tired, pretty spent. So seeing how they would affect me during a squat session, it would probably be more accurate to wear them on day one and see how it goes. That first set that you guys just saw was 402. It was about a 5.5, so definitely getting to an RP of 6, which is the target. The second set here, I took at 419. It was around a 6.5. The target is a 7, so I'm getting a lot closer. Instead of hitting a whole RPE below, I'm hitting more like a half RPE below. This last set, I felt pretty confident, and so I just put on pretty much, I think this is very close to 435 pounds. Spoiler alert, I hit it close around a 7.5. I was tempted to put in RP 7. It honestly felt really easy, as if I could have done 3 more at least, but just to kind of limit myself for this upcoming week and so I don't really go overboard and pick some stupid number, I decided to put 7.5 on the program just to kind of lower my expectations. And anything could happen day one. I might load up the same way and it'll feel like an 8, who knows. Just taking a look at these back off sets, Alex had me just switch to the flats just so we don't really bother the knee too much with changing the shoes and everything. Felt really weird going right to flats after having done 3 heavy sets of 3 in heels. I felt like an absolute dwarf, an absolute manlet. Anyways, these felt really good. I think I take the tempo on these a lot more appropriately, so that's something I could take into consideration for my heavy triples, where I do think I need to slow them down just a tad. I think I am hitting around a 2 count tempo, but the speed isn't consistent. As you can see here, it's around a 1-2 count, right? But the speed going down is fairly consistent throughout the whole movement. Whenever I'm doing heavy squats at a tempo, I think I do take a 2-second tempo, but as I near the bottom, I kind of bounce out and I don't really keep the same consistent speed. I've probably said speed like 5 times at this point. Yeah, just finishing off this set of 8. I did not record the other set of 8 because I forgot to. That was 336. These are feeling a lot more comfortable. 8s were definitely killing me before, but definitely getting used to the volume. These last couple blocks, bench has absolutely been my arch enemy. Nothing I really have done so far has kind of alleviated the issues. I just can't seem to push past a certain point. Feels like I've definitely plateaued, but I guess I'll tell you guys a little bit after we watch the sets. I think I found the key. Anyways, this is the top single. I think it's a 2-1-0 count single, so 2 count eccentric, 1 count pause, and then come off the chest with whatever speed. I think I took 282 here. Actually looks pretty decent and it felt pretty good. Target RP was 7 and that felt about a 7. So for once, my RPE for the program and the actual RPE that I took for whatever load is pretty consistent. First set of 7, I have 2 sets of 7 of normal comp bench. This day, I was in an absolute rush to get out of the gym because I had some prior arrangements. I literally didn't even do a general warm-up. I had to warm up very, very fast to my top single. I think the whole workout had to take like 30-40 minutes. And so, literally by my last set, I just barely made it back home. Again, this is 226 for the second set. It honestly felt a little easier than the first. The first was more around RP 7. I just couldn't stay tight enough. I felt like I was kind of shifting across the bench way too much. and my legs and my feet as well were just very unstable. Second set was a lot better. The last 2 sets are not comp bench, so I do have to lower the weight. They're 210 bench for sets of 7 as well. In terms of RPE, these were more around a 5 to a 6 instead of 7 and 6. One other thing, by the end of the week, day 5, I'd be squatting, and I also have Larson press right after. What I ended up doing was setting up for Larson how I'd bench before, and the way I used to bench before is I'd set up on the extreme end of the bench. I'll probably throw up a clip now, and I'll slowly drag myself to the bar. What I think that does is it puts my legs, my glutes in a better position, and it honestly probably creates a slightly better arch. It also keeps me glued to the bench a lot more. I'm going to take that into this next week. Alex has also been telling me to kind of put my hips back. So basically I just drag them a little closer to my upper back, if you will. Last set here, just honestly this session was terrible. I had to rush through it. Everything was extremely sloppy. Nothing really that great. I came out feeling pretty disappointed, but also hopeful for the next week when I had that little epiphany for day 5. When I said this week was a mixed bag, I wasn't talking about having a decent squat session and then the bench session being horrible. The deadlift session was one of the worst sessions in terms of taking singles during the workout, or rather the training session. First single here, 512. I'm supposed to do it paused. It was alright. Locking out was easy. Coming off the floor just felt extremely sluggish, like my legs just would not work for deadlifts this day. Next single, not paused. It's supposed to be 10 kg over whatever pause single I hit this day. 534 loaded on the bar, just glued on the floor, wouldn't even come off the ground, which is honestly ridiculous. I would have never expected this to happen. Of course, strength isn't always 100%, but I was kind of flabbergasted, as you would say, as to like why it was just extremely stubborn. Even pulling the slack, nothing really felt right. I do still manage to pull it, but I pull it at like an RP 8 when this should realistically be a 6 for me or lower, more like a 5.5 to a 7 range, in between that range. Anyways, yeah, 534, I take it again. Do I do anything noticeably different? I don't think so, but here we go. Yeah, lockout isn't too bad. I would say my positioning is better than before, but for some reason I couldn't get anything out of my legs. Alex said it might just be from squat session, kind of the fatigue trickling into this session. I would agree with that. Plus the week in general wasn't very good with sleep. In terms of the amount of hours I slept, it was more than enough. I've been getting a lot of interrupted sleep lately. I think just hydrating way too much, so I end up going to the bathroom a lot. And I'd rather sleep just 6 hours straight without having to wake up than sleeping 8-9 hours and waking up like 2 or 3 times. Here are the back-offs, sets of 8 with 413. These felt easier than last week, so considering my singles were terrible but the back-offs were pretty good, I'd say better than last week. It was just very puzzling. I've had blocks of training where it's been like this, where my deadlift just falls in strength quite a bit. Again, I haven't been getting that much practice with just normal singles, and maybe the fatigue from squats is really settling into these deadlift days, but yeah, I don't know, it was just a very disappointing session. I was pretty angry for once though on these back offs, so they felt extremely easy. I don't count myself as an emotional lifter at all. Even when I fail pretty badly, I don't really end up caring, but this went just so far beyond my expectations in a bad way that I was just a little bit pissed on these back offs. Maybe that made it a little easier, who knows. I will see you guys next week when hopefully deadlifts aren't so bad and bench is hopefully getting a little better. Squats will hopefully stay good as usual. Bye bye now.